much for that very warm introduction. I'd also like to say hello to my colleague, Congresswoman Marcia Fudge, who is here from Cleveland. Thank you very much. I would also like to give a special hello to my brother, Mervyn Jones, who's graduating here today. Son of our former colleagues, Congresswoman Stephanie Tubbs Jones, who's like a mother, so my brother, and my Auntie Barbara, who's also here. So thank you very much for being here. There was an American investment banker who was at the pier of this small little coastal village in Mexico when a small boat with just one fisherman pulled up to the pier, and inside the small boat were just a couple large yellowfin tuna. And the American investment banker complimented the fisherman on the quality of the fish and asked how long it took to catch these fish. And the Mexican said, just a little while. The American asked why he didn't stay out longer and catch more fish. And the Mexican said he had enough fish to support his family's immediate needs. And the American asked, well, what do you do with the rest of your time? And the Mexican fisherman says, well, I sleep late, I fish a little, I play with my kids, I take a siesta with my wife Maria, I play guitar, I stroll into the village and I play guitar and I sip wine with my amigos at night. I have a very full and busy life. Well, the American scoffed and said, I'm a Harvard MBA and I can help you. You should spend more time fishing, and with the proceeds, buy a bigger boat. And with the proceeds from the bigger boat, you could go out and buy more boats. And eventually you'd have a fleet of fishing boats. And instead of selling your catch to a middleman, you'd sell directly to the processor. Eventually opening up your own cannery, you would control the product, processing, and distribution. You would need to leave this small coastal village, go to Mexico City, then LA, eventually New York City, where you'll run your expanding enterprise. The Mexican fisher asked, well, how long will this take? And the Harvard fellow said, 15 to 20 years. The Mexican said, well, then what? He said, this is where it really gets good. When the time is right, you'll announce an IPO. You'll sell your company stock to the public and become very rich. You'll make millions. But then what? The Mexican fisherman said. The American said, then you'll retire. You'll move to a small coastal fishing village where you'll sleep late, you'll fish a little, you'll play guitar with your amigos, and you'll take a siesta with your wife Maria. We want you to be happy. That's what everyone here who has supported you, who has taught you, who cares about you, wants one thing. We want you to be happy. And the Mexican fisherman story gives us an example of what maybe society teaches us what happiness is, which isn't always necessarily true. And I don't think there's any doubt here that all of you, if you wanted, could go out and make money and make millions and be big time. But will that make you happy? I was in India a couple of years ago, and we went to this very poor village. And it was a level of poverty we do not see here in the United States, where people are drinking water out of the sewers that run right outside where they live. Some of your professors and some of the students may have been in villages like this. And we were there because USAID funds some of these programs, and we're trying to help develop and improve the decreased level of poverty there. So we go into this one little village, and there's these little brick huts, and there's a little area in the middle, and they put a little canopy over, kind of like the one we may need here in a few minutes over top of everything, to keep the sun out. There were all these kids who were playing. And I was just overwhelmed with sadness and depressed because of what I was seeing from Niles, Ohio, and where I'm from, to see this level of poverty. And all these kids were in there. And I was so sad. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of this little ceremony that we were having, this little boy and this little girl, who were probably 6 or 7 years old, started doing what little boys and little girls do when they're that age. They start knocking each other around a little bit, pulling each other's hair. And I'm watching this, and the boy looks at me and catches my eye, and he smiles. And I smile. And then the girl gets in, and we all start smiling. And it was at that moment in my life I recognized that there was no level of sadness I could bring to that situation that was going to make anybody happy. The only thing that was going to make that situation better was my happiness, my excitement, my joy that I could possibly bring. It wouldn't help for me to go over and say to this kid, boy, you know how bad you have it? That would not be helpful. We want you to be happy. And we create these stories in our head that other people give us along the way that we think is going to make us happy. We think all the money in the world may make us happy. We may think power may make us happy. But you need to determine for yourself what your own personal happiness is. Enjoying nature, enjoying fishing, enjoying playing with your kids and your nephews and your family, enjoying hunting, whatever it is that you like to do. Enjoying music. That's part of being alive. That's part of life. And so the challenge isn't always becoming who you're not. The challenge in life is sometimes becoming who you really are. That's the big challenge. Because you're going to get pressure from all kinds of different people to be something maybe that you're not. And you obviously have a lot of willpower because you graduated here today. So if you put your mind to something, it can happen. And so you need to remember that your mental state, what you're thinking about, matters. And there aren't any limits. And just because you say there aren't any limits doesn't mean that you need to only make money. Mental limits can happen all the time. Like the great poet Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.